Britain will demand a robust response from the United Nations to Russia's nerve agent attack at an emergency Security Council. Theresa May revealed today the Prime Minister told MPs there would be an urgent meeting in New York to discuss the Kremlin-sponsored attack on Sergei Skripal in Salisbury. Mrs. May made the announcement in her statement announcing retaliation against Russia for the shocking attack. Any resolution at the Security Council is likely to be vetoed by Russia, another of the 5 permanent council members, which has ridiculed Britain over the incident. In her statement to MPs, Mrs. May said that the UK will deploy a range of tools from across the full breadth of our national security apparatus in order to counter the threats of hostile state activity. Law-abiding Russians living in the UK would continue to be welcome, she said. But she added, we will not tolerate the threat to life of British people and others on British soil from the Russian government. Nor will we tolerate such a flagrant breach of Russia's international obligations. She welcomed support from allies including the US, NATO and the EU, and said Britain would be pushing for a robust international response at the UN Security Council later on Wednesday. This was not just an act of attempted murder in Salisbury, nor just an act against UK, said Mrs. May. It is an affront to the prohibition on the use of chemical weapons, and it is an affront to the rules-based system on which we and our international partners depend. Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn joined calls for international action in his widely derided response to the attack. He said, we should urge our international allies to join us and call on Russia to reveal without delay full details of its chemical weapons program to the Organisation for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons. Mr. Corbyn added, the events in Salisbury earlier this month are abominable and have been rightly condemned across the House. It was a dreadful, appalling act which we totally condemn, he said as he urged multilateral action. He said it was a matter of huge regret that there had been cuts of 25% to the UK's diplomatic network in the last 5 years, a comment which produced further barracking from the Tory benches. Mrs. May told him, this is not a question of our diplomacy, of what diplomatic support we have around the world. This is the question of the culpability of the Russian state for an act on our soil. Separately, the President of the EU Council, Donald Tusk, said that he was ready to put the issue on next week's European Council agenda. Mr. Tusk expressed his full solidarity with Mrs. May in the face of a brutal attack inspired, most likely, by Moscow. The new developments continue a roll-out of support from the international community for Britain since Mrs. May first pointed the finger at Russia on Monday. US President Donald Trump signaled his backing in a call with the Prime Minister last night, following the leaders of France and Germany.
Tell me where the freak's at.